In this video, I'm going to reveal the secret to knockout power. Without this punch articulation, your punches will never do real damage. Every time I ever buzz someone in a fight, I always remember one thing about the punch that buzzed them. I always remember feeling how it landed. How a punch lands is called punch articulation, and it's pretty much all that matters when it comes to knocking someone out. I'm going to teach you why articulating your punches is so powerful. I'm going to teach you how to articulate your punches properly, and then I'm going to give you a drill so that you can implement what you've learned so you can leave this video better equipped for knocking people out. Okay, so why is punch articulation so powerful? Let's start by doing some physics. Pressure equals force divided by surface area, and pressure is what knocks people out. If you think of like a bullet penetrating a surface, the reason why it does so much damage is because all of that force is concentrated to a small amount of surface area. So what we want to do is increase the amount of force that we put into our punch and then decrease the amount of surface area where that force is channeled through. And what is the most efficient way of doing this? Of course, it's reducing the surface area. You could increase the force, but you need to put on a lot of body weight. And why do that when weight class is a thing? Or do a load of strength and conditioning to generate more force. But the easiest way would just be making this one small adjustment in your technique, which is what we're going to talk about now. So what is this small adjustment? It is this, right? This is the adjustment. I'm going to go from here to here. Having this slight kink in our wrists at all times means that when we throw our punches, my wrists are already kinked here. When we throw our punches, as we fully extend, we turn over and we land on the knuckle part, right? And knuckles are going to hit. This is where that surface area is being decreased. If I don't kink my wrist and I land my fist flat like that, then now I've got all this surface area where I'm putting the force through, as opposed to just those two or maybe even one knuckle, right? That is the thing that I can feel when I land them knockout punches. It's like a stinging feeling on my knuckles. And you get that from having a slight kink in your wrist. You might be thinking, well, isn't kinking your wrist a little bit dangerous? You might fuck up your wrist by doing that. When the punch lands, your wrist might go like this. Well, in actual fact, if you could draw like a line down my arm, you could line up my knuckle with my elbow and then all the way down through my shoulder. So that is actually a very strong position of your wrist for landing a punch. Right? This is better than there. But if you kink it too much, obviously you're going to mess up your wrist. So it's just a slight kink in your wrist is what's going to increase that damage massively. But how are you actually going to get this to pay off in a fight? Because it's all well and good me saying, yeah, just kink your wrist, mate, and land on the knuckle. But how are you going to actually make it happen? Well, you've got to do a lot of repetitions of finding the knuckle at the end of all of your punches. And it's not easy. It takes ages and ages and ages and thousands of repetitions of throwing punches onto a bag or onto a pad or doing the drill, which we're going to talk about in a minute. Making sure that you're having that slight kink in your wrist and you're getting the knuckles on each punch, okay? The more punches you can get, the more repetitions you do where there's a high percentage of them landed on the knuckles, landing properly, then the more likely it is to pay off in a fight. Of course, you've got to get them kinked in shadow boxing first, then you've got to get them kinked on the bag, and then you've got to be landing your knuckles on the pads, and then inspire, and then eventually they'll start paying off in the ring.
Go.
Perfect. So this is the punch articulation drill I was on about. You want to get a bag that's like not solid. So you're not going to be punching like the solid surface. You want a bit of give in the bag because you don't want to mess those knuckles up too much. You can also get some hand wraps on as well, but don't wear gloves because if you wear gloves, it's harder to feel knuckles. All right, we're trying to feel the knuckles so that when we do put gloves on, we're still getting the knuckles on the target. So you get a soft bag, put some hand wraps on, or don't if you're as hard as me. Now, all we're going to do with this drill is make sure our wrists are slightly kinked, and then we're just going to lightly touch, dig in the knuckles on all of our punches. Just getting used to landing on those first two knuckles. I did hear a thing, I think it was in like Jack Dempsey's book or something, that you're meant to land on these three, but no matter what I do, I never land on them three. I always land on them two, and I feel like those are the most. So you should feel a sort of stinging feeling on your knuckles, on these first two knuckles here. That's how you know you're right. But you can tell whether you're landing correctly because you'll only feel, you can normally feel all the force going through them two knuckles on your punches. Make sure that your wrists are always kinked before you even throw the shot. So by the time you turn them over, you're digging the shots in. If you're struggling to get the knuckles on the target, then you simply just need to do this drill more. You need to do more repetitions, practicing, getting it. Just start by throwing the punches slowly. And over time, you'll naturally land on those knuckles and you'll get more confident with it. If you feel like you're going to mess up your wrists, then you're kinking your wrist too much. Goes without saying. So it's about finding the right balance of, am I kinking it enough or am I kinking it too much or I'm going to end up messing up my wrist? But yeah, just getting it so that your knuckles land on the target. First, practice getting your straight shots on the knuckles, then the hooks, then the uppercuts. Get an uppercut bag for that, and then the hooks to the body. That's sort of like the order of difficulty that these punches are to get those knuckles on and keep the wrist kinked. Especially your body shots are quite hard. Make sure your palm's facing up, but you're digging your knuckle coming under. So yeah, are you going to stay a pussy? Or are you going to make a change in your life and join Hyperborea Elite?
How much does it cost?
It could cost your life.